Good evening, everybody. This is the board policy meeting for February. We have no public here to speak. Have we been properly posted?
Yes, we have.
Thank you. We have all members present. Can we have approval of the minutes from January?
Madam Chairman, I approve the policy minutes from January as presented.
And I'll second.
Right? Any additions or corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We have review of policies as requested by our board member, Barbara Brusink, and their 8410 and 8410G. Evaluation of the school board operational procedures, and then the guidelines for the evaluation of the school board. So,
We put these forward to see what, what you want to do, if you wanted to just eliminate them entirely. There's never been an evaluation since I have been here, and I don't think there was many done. It looks like,
Ever.
These keep getting, I guess, updated, but we haven't really used them. So if you're not going to, maybe the best thing is just to eliminate them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, the board is evaluated by the public when they
Yes.
vote.
Yes.
And you can evaluate yourself and think you're doing a great job, but if the public doesn't agree, they will be here to tell us and so.
Well, this is an old
yes,
policy, and there's many other old policies in there that I come across once in a while. And I just saw it, and I think the intent it was good, it was well-intentioned, but we've never done it, and I've been on the board since 2000, and we've never done it,
Yeah.
or it wasn't done beforehand. So I think we should let the whole board discuss it. There might be somebody that thinks it's valuable, but, the process is okay. It's just that, why should we have things in our policy that we don't do?
Right, yeah, there's no sense to fill up a policy book if we're not using them.
well, that's exactly what I think. This is a waste of time.
Okay.
We're elected officials, so
Yeah.
you can't do anything with a board member you don't like or that's not doing their job anyway. That is definitely up
Right,
to the
right.
voters. And so if you look at the guidelines, a lot of them don't make sense unless the superintendent wants to leave in.
Yeah, I think we're gonna,
That
I
you're
I
gonna
would I would say the
evaluate
first
the
thing that
board.
would go is number 8, but.
Yeah,
I don't think we're gonna go there. But yeah, I mean, so obviously, when you do my evaluation, you do give me a chance to bring up issues. So I think it's already covered there as well.
I do too. And so I see no reason for it,
Yeah.
so I think we should get rid of it. I don't know, do you have any comments, Karen?
I think a policy book that thick is big enough. If we have some that we're not using, then we can get rid of it.
Yes, Mr.
I do remember a time that, you said, we as board members really don't evaluate each other, but I do remember a time that if a board member does something that's, outrageous or hurts the board or hurts the school district, et cetera, then I know that the board president and/or the superintendent can talk to that person,
Yeah.
because that has happened
Yeah.
once since I've been on the board, and it was an uncomfortable position, but I don't know that that person could have remained on the board successfully any longer, so it could happen. but-
Yes, yeah, I remember that incident too,
Mhm.
but we didn't use this policy.
No, we did not, you're right.
Because we looked at it and then it didn't apply anyway.
Right.
Right.
So,
Right.
if somebody wants to make a motion to have these eliminated from the policy book,
But then move to go in front of the board for them to
yes,
talk about.
it would then go to the board.
Okay. Madam Chairman, I move to accept the evaluation of the school board operational policies, procedures, and 8410G and guidelines for evaluation of the school board as presented. And to move it on to the full board
No,
For elimination.
for
For elimination.
elimination, right?
For elimination.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. That is our only topic.
Okay, there is one more.
We have one more?
Well, since it deals with board operational procedures,
Okay.
Karen had contacted me last week to talk about some of the issues with how salaries are determined. So I don't know if you want us to review that, look at some different policies, what other boards use and so on.
Salaries for who?
The board. There was some, obviously, it was either a 6-2 or 7-2 vote.
It was 7.
So, there were some concerns, so I thought, well, maybe it's good to see if there's some policies out there that the board could use for the future.
Well, there is something in our policy.
Right,
book about
right,
it.
but it's not very, it's very, very
Very, very
broad.
vague.
It does not give a lot of guidance, so, is that what you were,
Yeah, and
requesting?
I had asked Todd, and of course Pat wouldn't have let it go if it wasn't. She's pretty helpful in that area. But when Dan had upped the amount of our salary at the last minute, I just thought, I heard what our audience member said, of that could have been 10,000. I mean, we wouldn't have done that, but who's to say that because no one had a chance to voice their opinion on whether that is right or wrong, I just thought that is that even okay to do, and can we look at that? And so that's what Todd wants to see.
It was a proper motion. The motion, actually, it was agendized. So if anybody was interested in that, then they should have been here or made comments at the time. Because you can amend a motion lots of times. So, in different ways. So it's really up to the public to kind of look at what's on the agenda, and if they're interested in that topic, they've got to make comments before that meeting or at that meeting as we let them speak. So it was a proper motion.
Okay.
Or I would have definitely said something, and I think Ellen Langell would have said something, 'cause she knows parliamentary procedure well too,
Okay.
so.
Well, Paul had called me and asked if we could look at that, and because of the, he didn't think it was a wrong thing to do to give us a raise, but then at the last minute, it was that jump of, because of.
Which
we're
they had
taxed
actually
now.
taken away from us the year before,
Okay.
is what that raise amounted to. Dan just added that back in.
And I think that's where,
It was confusing.
Yes.
And I understand that. Mr.
May I
Zink?
say something? I think I know why Dan did that, because when, years ago, the school district did not take off for taxes.
Right.
And they've been doing that since before you came on the board. So now, we have to claim it on our income tax, and they do take taxes off of it. And, we always had to claim it, but they take taxes off before they give it to us. And I think that's why he raised it, so that we would still have an appreciable amount of raise, and then the extra that he said he wanted to add to it was for taxes.
It was the Social Security and the Medicare tax, not income tax, is what that amount was. We used to get a 1099 for $5,400 or $5,200, whatever the amount was. And then they got, Lori Clifton actually asked for a ruling and they said, no, those are not contract people, they're employees, and you should be taking FICA and Medicare tax out of their wages before they get them. So that's the amount that Dan added back in. If the public, they didn't add in income tax that we paid, in case the public is thinking that they're paying our
Right.
income tax withholding, because they don't do that.
and if all of that was explained, I know Dan just went into it very briefly, but if all of that was explained, I think that may not have startled some.
I think so too, and I think he knew that the board all understood it and didn't realize, sometimes we realize that the public watches and they don't understand that whole procedure and what occurred in the last year before that, so. I think that's why. But if you want to look at the policy, if it's there, we certainly can look at it.
It doesn't
I
specify.
I would recommend just taking a brief look at it, because it is broad and it's not very definitive.
No, it's
And what
not.
happens then is you go 15 years without making an adjustment, and then even though it's a small dollar adjustment, it's a big percent, and that's not right either. So
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we should just look at that for some kind of annual consideration. It doesn't
Sure.
mean that you have to get a raise every year, but at least you're not, when you go from 4,800 to 54, it's not a big
No.
dollar amount at all.
No, it
It's,
isn't.
it's,
Yeah.
$5,000 compared to our $160 million budget. But the percentage increase is so great, because you haven't done it for 10, 12 years, that you fall into that situation.
We haven't done it for more than 15 years.
Well, right. So I mean, if you looked at percentage over 50 years, you're probably way under
Right.
CPI, but that's because there is nothing that
Right.
as the board at least considers that situation every year.
Pat, isn't there a deadline or a time that you have, time frame within that you have to do? Would you explain that, please?
You have to let people know who are going to run for office when
I
there's a
see.
vacancy. So you'd have to let the public know by
December.
December 1st
Got
what
it.
that salary was going to be
Got it. Okay.
for the next term.
And Dan feeling that he was leaving the board and wouldn't, get any criticism, I'm sure that, that's why he did it, I'm sure.
Yeah, and as you know, and I know, we've discussed it several times, and we were never financially responsible enough to,
Right.
we said, we'll put ourselves on the last
Right.
list. And,
And, also, if I may add, at one time, we used to go to national and state conferences, and I remember going to a technology conference, and when I was on the technology committee, and I went to a school board conference, I think it was in San Francisco, and we decided during our really, really, really bad budget times that there would be no travel. And we even limited travel for our staff. And I don't know how that, if, what's in existence for staff, but
There's some more now. It's still very limited. A lot of it is dependent on grants
Right,
or
right.
donations and so on. But we are starting to do some where we think it fits, especially in the area of literacy, math, or some of the leadership areas that we're trying to focus on.
Sure.
But it's still pretty slim.
If I may add, going to the Wisconsin convention, to me, was no different than going to the national convention in a different city, because the format was the same, the topics, pretty much were the same, and, it was a big expense for the board, and, we came into hard times and
Yeah.
didn't do it anymore.
But I still think if there's, if there are some opportunities. And then another one too is going to area public events where there's a small fee, like business after hours for the chamber or some of those, that is encouraged, and the board policy does encourage those, and you can get reimbursed for those. And I'm on the Waukesha County Board of Alliance as a ex officio member, and they love to see the board members at those events.
Okay, didn't know that.
I know Bill and Steve went to one recently, and the very next day I had a board meeting, and a number of people came up and said it was great to see some board members there, so.
Are we informed of those events?
I don't know.
Get emails.
I mean, if people are aware because of, it specifically relates to the school district we are, but just the general business
Okay.
after hours, probably not.
Oh, okay.
We get, excuse me, we get the Business Alliance emails into our school district accounts,
The Business Alliance, yeah.
and it says what's going on either
Mhm.
during the day or after hours.
Yeah, a lot of those events are for specific, like salespeople or
Oh,
business leaders under 40 and so on. But once in a while, there will be some, where the last one was at GE, I think, and that's why Bill and Steve went to that. But there are some that are related to the district, or the company's related to the district. And there are others that probably would not be of interest, but Yeah, I'll check to make sure everyone's getting those emails.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, we'll put that on our next agenda because we always have ample time anyway.
There's one piece I might, just suggest an annual review, just so it doesn't get lost and we don't go for 15 years and have the same issue that we've had before. Even if it was every 5 years, something like that, would be would be better than 15 years, so.
Oh, Pat, you used to be, elected official for the county. How did the county raise the salaries for the county board? Did they have something written, or,
Have it set.
and what does
That
it
they get a
say?
certain amount of raise because of the staggering of their elections, just like ours. So
So, do they have an amount, or do they have a percentage, or what?
they have a percentage that they increase it over a period of like 4 years, I think it is.
Okay.
I can't remember
Okay,
if it's 4 years but, so they all know ahead of time.
right.
Well-
And I know that they've just
Yeah.
discussed the elected officials that'll be running in fall.
Okay,
They just will be putting an ordinance through for those people so that
Okay.
any public that's interested in any of those jobs.
and what does the common council do you know?
I do not know what the city
I'm
does.
thinking they're more like us. I don't think
They
they have
are.
a regular annual.
I
But
thought
you
they were.
could look at, every 3 years covers all 9 seats, and you could
Mhm.
maybe have something that every 3 years it's examined.
Mhm.
And that way, it's not affecting any one
Right.
board member, but it follows the election cycle.
Well, I thank you. I felt badly that Paul was so concerned about it because, he comes to all of our meetings and he's very interested in the operations of the school district and, the quality of education we provide. But I know that he didn't understand, and we probably, should have explained it much more clearly, but we didn't, so. And also, if I may add, I did get a call from someone who is on the county board and the common council and said, I can't believe you haven't, the lady said, I've been on the county board and the common council for years. I never see you guys getting a raise. She said, I think it's about time, so.
Yeah, I didn't hear much outside of those couple comments either, so.
I didn't hear anything either, frankly, but, and actually Dan's motion took everybody by surprise. So, but it had to get in and done
Yeah,
before the election.
right,
Papers were out.
you're right.
But we will put that on our agenda and check at that policy. Anything else that anybody is interested in for next month? Okay, our next meeting is Tuesday, March 18th at 6 p.m. Thank you all very much.